What's up, everyone? David Seven Skies here, broadcasting from the Seven Skies Mansion. Finally, back with some tutorials. Today, I'm going to talk about pianos and how to make your pianos more realistic and how to spice them up a little bit. Now, for some of you, some things might not be super new, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to be able to give you a few very useful tricks nonetheless. So, let's jump right into it. Okay, so we have our chords here. I just wrote some random chords. They're actually quite nice. And I'm using my favorite piano from Native Instruments called Alicia's Keys. It's a contact instrument. It's awesome. I've been using this for years. And so let's play the chords. Okay, nothing crazy, just nice chords. So we can do a few things over here. Now, the first thing that I usually like to do is add a very low note. So the first thing I'm gonna do is select all of these low notes, and I'm gonna duplicate them to a lower octave, and let's play. It just feels bigger already. And so the thing that I always try to focus on when I'm working on my pianos, obviously depends on the song. If it's like a feature house song where you have like M1 piano, you want your piano to be like full on, super bright and that kind of stuff. But if you want your piano to be like super realistic, if you have a breakdown, there's a couple of tracks that I made, like my remix for Salvatore Ganacci talk. We've seen in one of the videos, it's probably going to be linked somewhere around here. I try to use the piano at a lower velocity as opposed to full on velocity, because otherwise they become too bright and they sound pretty fake, especially when they are sampled piano. So one thing that we can do, so I'm going to show you two ways to do it. One is the Ableton way. So if you don't have Ableton, you can do it with Logic, you can do it with Fruity Loops. In Logic, it's actually a little bit easier. It's one of the things that is easier to do than compared to live. But yeah, there's a way to do it with live that my friend the Golden Army showed me. I'll link his video down below as well. Or there is a way to do it manually, and this works with basically every software. So let's do the Ableton way first. What I want to do is I want to have a way lower velocity, but I also want to have random velocities, because if I was a real pianist, if I was really playing this piano as opposed to programming on in the piano roll, I would obviously, especially because I suck, but even a pianist would probably change the velocity. Each note would have a different velocity, maybe slightly different, but it gives this is what gives character to a real instrument. Everything is human, you know. Volumes are different, notes are slightly late or early. So what you want to do when you're making your pianos depends how realistic you want to have it. You always have to keep this stuff in mind. So grids like this, like super precise, like super quantized, and velocities that are all the same, normally don't work. So we need to humanize this MIDI right here. So the Ableton way of doing things is done this way. So we're gonna get a MIDI instrument, we're gonna get a velocity, and we're gonna drop it here. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna set the random to whatever we want, and we're gonna take down the output so that right now it's going from 0 to 127, which is full velocity. We don't want it to go all the way up to full velocity, so let's just put it around here, and let's hear how it sounds. Okay, so you can hear some notes are louder, some notes are quieter, and this is already quite good. What we also want to do is we want to have a bit of delay and a bit of a shift between the notes. So what we can do is open the groove pool, and we can literally pick any groove that we want. It doesn't really matter. What we do is we assign it here. And now what we do is we increase the random, and what's this gonna do is it's gonna shift the notes in random position. So this is what you get. So if I remove it, you can hear that the notes are all coming in at the same time. If I put it back, you can hear this kind of thing, which is really nice. I really like this effect. Perfect. Now we have our humanized velocity and our humanized quantization. Now, the problem with this is that it's very hard to control because let's say we don't like one of the velocities that the velocity MIDI plugin is randomly giving us, or we don't like how early one of the notes comes in. What can we do? Well, with the position randomization, that's easy. We can just hit commit, and this will shift the notes, as you can see. So once again, that's pretty easy. But when it comes to velocity, how do we render those velocities that the velocity plugin is outputting into our MIDI track? Well, it's actually really easy, and this is what my friend the Golden Army showed me. And we open a new MIDI track, and we set the input to contact. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to select this. We're going to enable recording in this MIDI track, and we're simply going to hit record. And there you go. Now, if we put this MIDI over here, you'll see that both the notes are shifted, and if you check down here, all the velocities are different. So we have a lot of control on this MIDI right now. For example, if I want this note to have a louder velocity, I can just CMD control. I don't know what this is in Windows, but this is like the Apple key on Mac. Hit that button and then drag it up and down. And there you go. We can check that all the velocities are pretty close. Like normally you wouldn't want a big difference in velocity, so this one might be a little bit too quiet, so we can just grab it and take it a little bit higher. And yes, this is the result. Oh, actually, another thing, we have to bypass the plugin, the MIDI plugin right now. This is our result, and this is how it was before. So as you can tell, this version has way more character, way more soul, let's call it this way. Compared to this one, this is very static, this is very fake, and yeah, it took just a few clicks here and there to take this piano to the next level. I'm gonna make it even more interesting in a second, but I just want to show you what I would normally do without all these effects. And that's pretty simple. What you would do is basically select all the notes and take them to a lower velocity, because like I said, this piano sounds better around 60-70% velocity. And then what you can do is literally just, I'm gonna turn this off, just randomly move your velocities around. It's obviously more time consuming compared to what I did before. But yeah, so now all the velocities are done, and the same thing we can do with the note position. So we can just grab them and literally change the length of the notes. It's like random. We can also just shift them around. And like I said, this takes a little bit longer. I definitely like to do the other way. You can just randomly move it. It doesn't necessarily have a certain logic to it. It's just, you know, just make it human. There you go. Alright, I noticed that this set of notes is a little bit too quiet compared to the other one, so I'm gonna select them all and boost them all. Alright, this is way better. Okay, cool. This is how you humanize a piano. Once again, just shift the notes a little bit randomly, doesn't matter. Shift, randomly change the velocity, whether you do it with plugins and with the random function in the groove pool, or whether you do it manually, it doesn't really matter. You can always commit it into a new MIDI, and you can always go there and fix it if it needs to be fixed. Obviously the other way is way faster, but it does not work with Logic. Logic has a couple functions that are called humanize, and it changes both velocity and position at the same time with just a couple clicks, and that's super fast. That's really cool in Logic. Live does require a little bit more clicks, like 2 or 3, but still works pretty well. Cool, so if you think this video was helpful and you found it interesting, please put a thumbs up. If you have a different method that, you know, maybe it's faster or gives better result, please let me know in the comments down below. I'm always down to learn new techniques. And as always, thanks for watching. From me, David Seven Skies. Bye bye.